Hey everybody, thanks for jumping on the call today. We're going to go over an intro to eXp Realty. I'm Brian Culhane with the Culhane Group at eXp Realty, and I'm one of the founding members. I've been around since the beginning. I'm actually pre-eXp. I had been working with Glen Sanford, who is the CEO and chairman of eXp World Holdings. I've been working with Glen Sanford since 2005. I started out as his team leader here in Phoenix. Glen at the time had a top-ranked website here in the Valley, and he was looking for a team leader. And I actually responded to a Craigslist ad. I had just moved out to Arizona with all my clothes in a garbage bag, hitched a ride with a buddy, was literally collecting unemployment, scrounging around for loose change so I could buy myself a Whopper, a 99-cent Whopper for lunch. And I was taking real estate school classes and responded to a Craigslist and ultimately met Glen Sanford. Well, at the time, Glen Sanford was also struggling a little bit, but he was building a team, and he was struggling with the challenges of the traditional real estate industry as he was growing this team and trying to expand around the country and be a mega agent, kind of following in the millionaire real estate agent playbook, the red book, if you will, footsteps. Glen had found there was a lot of challenges, one being redundant overhead. As he was building these teams around the country, he found that he had costs that he had to incur for every market. Obviously building websites, being lead generating driven, but also, he had to have some staff and some infrastructure and some equipment. But we did really well. We were at a larger brokerage at the time, a big box brokerage that I will remain nameless. But Glen had built his business up to the point where he was a top 50 agent at that brokerage. And as a matter of fact, the CEO and a founder of that brokerage had dubbed Glen sort of the up-and-coming wonderkind of that company, and had actually started bringing him around and had him be up on stage, sitting next to him, and answering a lot of questions about the future of real estate. Well, one thing Glen, and to give you a little bit about Glen's background, Glen Sanford, he was kind of a computer person, a coder, a programmer. He was the financial chat room advisor at America Online. And so he understood the power of the internet. He understood how to build an audience. He understood how to lead capture and lead convert. And he basically was growing his real estate business around that. But one of the challenges, again, was that he wanted to build a sustainable model. And at the time, this brokerage that we were working with was one of the only companies that offered any form of passive income. Unfortunately, it was in the form of profit share. And so profit share ultimately meant it didn't matter how profitable we were as a team. It really was dependent on that local broker owner or that local office manager to know what they were doing and manage a really successful, profitable office. So it really had no bearing on how successful we were as a team. As a matter of fact, we would have $3, $4, $5 million months consistently, and we'd go in and we'd get profit share checks for like $10, $20, and it was a bit mind blowing, and needless to say, it was very disappointing. And so we ultimately left that brokerage in 2008. In the first part of the year there in 2008, and we started a traditional real estate brokerage called Buyer Tours Real Estate. Well, Buyer Tours, again, it was a traditional rollout. So keep in mind, Glen was one of these big picture thinkers that, ultimately he didn't just start one team and then grew that team around the region. He basically went from 0 teams to 6 teams overnight. So as he launched these 6 teams, well, now think about this: when we're launching a brokerage, now he's got, he's launching 6 offices in 6 locations in 6 cities around the country. As a matter of fact, we were in Bellingham, Seattle, Portland, Long Beach, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. And these are just places Glen liked to visit and had some relationships and contacts in. And so, he was sort of trying to build his master business, which was allowing him to be financially free, travel around the country, support his organization, and ultimately not have to be a part of every transaction that was being done. But again, 6 offices, that means 6 leases, 6 brokers in 6 different states. He had to pay for salaries. He had to buy, pay for staff, buy equipment, infrastructure, computers, phone systems, et cetera, et cetera. And so, it got a little expensive. Now, again, this was in the beginning of 2008. We had some of the top ranked websites. As a matter of fact, I think Glen had more top ranked websites in real estate than any other single entity at the time. And when I was in Phoenix, just as an example, I think we were generating probably about 100,000 unique IP addresses hitting our website a month. So that's quite a bit. I mean, we were probably generating anywhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20 leads a day, and we were just slammed with business. So things went great for the first couple months. As a matter of fact, I think we were on track to do about 100 million that year between the 6 offices. And then, of course, in October of 2008, we all know what happened. The market basically fell out from under us and completely crashed. You know, we had the credit crunch, the housing bubble burst, and you know, a lot of other things sort of took place. And it was basically a confluence of very negative events that impacted our economy. Well, at some level, that was sort of the genesis that forced and galvanized Glen to start rethinking the brokerage model in its entirety. You know, ultimately, Glen, you know, he's sort of one of these entrepreneurial-minded thinkers. You know, he's definitely an out-of-the-box thinker, and he basically reworked and reinvented the brokerage model to be sustainable in a down economy. You know, as a programmer and as a coder, you have to imagine, you know, the way his mind works. You know, a coder ultimately looks at lines and lines and lines of codes and looks at ways to shorten them and make them faster. You know, create better internet speed, if you will. Well, you know, Glenn was looking at real estate brokerage models, and he was looking at ways that he could sort of, you know, make them more efficient, right? Make them run leaner and meaner. Again, you know, it was a down economy. It was down for a long time. As a matter of fact, Glenn called a big team meeting, got all the team leaders together here in Phoenix and said, hey, everybody, you know, market's going to be bad, and it's going to be bad for a while. So we have to reinvent ourselves. And so one of the things that Glenn started looking at was, you know, these expenses that we were sort of, you know, in the traditional world, that it was just sort of expected of you. You know, if you're going to roll out a brokerage, it was just expected of you that you were going to get an office and you were going to fill it with equipment. And if you think about that, that's a pretty dicey investment. You know, let's go pay a lot of money, put out a lot of infrastructure, and then we hope agents come and make our money back for us, you know, and you know, I just don't think that's a solid investment. And really, you saw, you know, during that time period, a lot of brokerages started closing their doors and shuttering their businesses because they just couldn't keep the lights on. You know, the transactions were there, the market dropped in half, a lot of people lost half their net worth and their property values, et cetera. And so it just really became, you know, it forced our hand, if you will. Well, one of the things Glenn identified early on was that office space, you know, bricks and mortar costs was probably the biggest offender. And so it just so happens that technology had reached a point at the time, and I'm actually going to share with you a little bit of a sneak peek here of our current cloud platform. But technology had reached a point where basically, you know, we could now immerse ourselves in these 3D environments. They had these emerging 3D office environments. We call them a cloud office today, but back then they weren't called cloud offices. They were called virtual offices, or they were called 3D immersive office environments. And we adopted one of those, and we started utilizing it, and we utilized it regularly. As a matter of fact, daily, we would meet in there regularly and have brainstorm sessions and scrum meetings and you know, just leadership meetings, and then we started teaching classes in there and doing trainings in there, and so basically we realized that this platform, this emerging technology platform, was really the first game changer that we adopted that sort of helped us revolutionize the real estate brokerage model. Well, because that allowed for us to have or basically it made us more efficient and wasn't as expensive to run, we could now give more money back to the agents. You know, one of the things that we really were attracted to at our previous brokerage was this idea of passive income. Well, you know, because they had a lot of expenses, they could only pay off of profit. Well, because we didn't have as many expenses, we could now pay off a gross commission. So, you know, if you're going to get a percentage of something in form of residual, you know, you want that to be a big number. You know, profit share is not only the smallest number, it might even be a zero, right? I mean, it's profit and loss. So it could be a loss. So there might be nothing to share in a profit and loss scenario. Well, as gross commission revenue share goes, there's always something there, right? You're getting paid off the top number, which is the biggest number, right? You're getting paid off the gross. And so those two things were the first thing that we rolled out with and launched eXp in November of 2009. So when we got to market, again, it was October of 2009. We opened up Washington State, and we took 20 agents from our traditional brokerage, and we opened up. It was slow and steady. About a month later, we opened up the state of Arizona, and then we'd add a few agents here, a few agents there. We'd open up a few new states, and by the way, we could open up states in 60 to 90 days by leveraging the cloud office. Whereas most traditional franchise rollouts were 6 to 9 months, because a lot of that was tied up in the bricks and mortar, and finding leases and things, and negotiating property. We were able to open up at lightning speed. So we were open up states. We were creating a little bit of a buzz in the industry. We started getting recognized. We were written up in the Swamp Pool Trends reports. Inman News started recognizing us and recognizing Glen as one of the most influential people in real estate. And we started turning some heads. Well, in 2013, Glen came back from a T. Harv Eker millionaire mindset training program. And I'll never forget it. He said, "Hey, everybody, we haven't been thinking big enough. We're going to go public." Now, if you know Glen or have heard of Glen or read any of Glen's stuff, that's one of Glen's famous mantras. Are you thinking big enough? He regularly would put that to us and say, "Hey, are you thinking big enough? Are you thinking big enough for your business? Are you in a big enough vehicle to allow you to access your dreams?" That was one of his standard questions that he would always ask us early leaders. And so he was asking that of himself. He was looking at what we had built, 4 or 5 years in, and he said, "You know what? We weren't thinking big enough." So we decided to go public. That was a huge moment for a lot of us, and me personally. If you think about my story, I grew up in Chicago. I was a busboy and a waiter and a caddy, and worked for the railroad, worked for the brush crew, and so I was a blue collar kid. My dad was a limo driver and a struggling stockbroker, and kind of a Fred Flintstone, Ralph Cramden, always looking for that get rich quick scheme or what have you. But meanwhile, we struggled financially. Now he's a great father. He's always there for me. He's my sales mentor, an amazing person. But ultimately, we struggled financially. And so, when eXp went public, because I was the president for 3 years and chief cultural officer for 3 years, and really worked, tirelessly with no salary or really, no benefits or anything like that. I was rewarded with a very generous stock package at the time. Now, at the time, it wasn't worth a lot. That's changed today considerably, but it really opened my eyes up to the power of wealth building. If you think about sales, sales is very important. We all do sales. I still do sales, but that's transactional. Sales is a transactional situation. Passive income and equity ownership, those are wealth building tools. And so now I was not just a real estate agent, going deal to deal. I am now a wealth builder. I'm building a financial empire for me and my family and many generations to come. And I'm leveraging the eXp vehicle to do that, by and large. And so that's the power of what eXp's created. It's this triangular income stream where you've got sales at the bottom, you've got equity on the side, and you've got passive on the other side. And when you add those things to your sales business, it's like a bolt of lightning. And so we started growing, we started adding, and then in 2015, another major moment in our history, we started getting some of the biggest names in real estate to start paying attention. As a matter of fact, one of those gentlemen came over, and he had helped build the previous brokerage that we had worked with up from, I think he had helped take them from 2 to 40,000 people in 7 years. He was one of the top recruiters for that company year in and year out. And he basically shut all that down, sold all his interest in that brokerage, and came over to eXp when we were about 1,000 agents. Well, in the last 3 years, as you'll see here on this chart, we've really experienced some hyper growth. Ever since that moment when those leaders from other industries came over and recognized our opportunity as probably the best and most viable opportunity in real estate, we've now added about 15,000 agents in the last 3 years. As a matter of fact, we added 10,000 agents last year alone. So that's, I definitely think we've hit the tipping point, if not sailed past it. To put that in perspective, it took the largest brokerage currently, it took them 13 years to get to 1,000 agents. We got to 1,000 agents in 6 years. And then 6 months after that, we were 2,000. 6 months after that, we were 4,000. And then now, not even 10 years old, we're closing in on 16,000 agents. So that's pretty impressive growth. And listen, I've been around since the beginning. As a matter of fact, I've been pre-eXp. We're a great culture. We're great people. We've got great logos, great branding. But all these leaders, and I'm not just talking about a bunch of new agents. I mean, these are some of the biggest names in real estate. These are some of the biggest teams, some of the top coaching programs, some of the biggest broker owners in the world are joining eXp, and they're coming over because it's a compensation plan revolution. A lot of people say, "Oh, you guys are a tech company," or it's a tech revolution, or it's a marketing revolution. No. I mean, it's all of that, but it's a compensation plan revolution. We're going to make agents more money over the long haul if they join eXp and do their business at eXp than they will anywhere else. And that's our promise, right? If you build this model the way we can show you how to build it, and you implement everything that we show you how to implement, you will make more money at eXp over the long haul than you will any other brokerage. And I'll get into some of the details on that, and I'll show you how that works. We're very big on our core values. I could literally do an hour on every one of these. I'll save you the time, but I'll just pick on a couple that I think are very near and dear to my heart. This idea of sustainability, to me, it's not just neighborhood sustainability, environmental sustainability. And by the way, we're probably the greenest and have the lowest carbon footprint of any brokerage out there because, as you know, office space and offices are some of the biggest offenders of CO2 output. So we're a very carbon neutral brokerage, but it's also business sustainability, being able to, work, and then have something to show for that effort. If you think about the life of an average salesperson, you're really only as good as your last sale. And you better be a good saver or a good investor, or start some other side businesses, because take it from someone who broke his hip and couldn't walk for 9 months. When something takes you out of your sales business, the sales stop. If the economy shifts or your market shifts. I have a friend of mine who's in Baton Rouge. He was the #1 real estate agent in Louisiana. His name's Darren James. Darren James, when they had that great flood in Baton Rouge in Louisiana, he lost 40 listings. Loss. And by the way, he didn't lose the listings. Like, they lost their houses. Their houses got condemned. So he had 40 listings of his just disappear. Now, here's a guy that does consistently 30, 40 million a year. He's got a huge business, and boom, half his business or more was wiped out in 1 week in a disastrous flood, right? And a biblical epic flood. And that can happen in any market to any of us. So what are you doing to prepare for your, contingency plan? What are you doing to prepare for if you break your hip? How sustainable is your business is the question you should be asking yourself, right? If the sales stop, does your business carry on? If you drop your phone in a bucket of water and disappear, can you drop your phone in a bucket of water and disappear for a month and your business continue to move on without you? For most of us, and for most real estate professionals, the answer is no, unfortunately. Now, don't feel bad. It's not necessarily your fault. It's basically the way the industry was set up, right? It's set up for us to go out and continue to be hunter-gatherers, and no one really shows us how to build a business farm system, because that's really what we're all about at eXp, is systems and building a business on top of the eXp platform. Glen sometimes used to refer to eXp as a transactional platform that allows for real estate professionals to build their business on top of it. Think of it as like an electrified Lego table, right? We'll give you the electrified Lego table, we'll give you the bricks, we'll show you the instructions on how to build it, and then all you got to do is plug it in. So I could go around, we're a great group of people. We're building an amazing community inside and outside of eXp. We have a lot of fun. We get together regularly. We've got an annual event. We've got a shareholders meeting. We're always doing localized and regional events all over the country. As a matter of fact, next week, I've got 2 major groups coming to Arizona doing big growth and growth retreats for their groups and for eXp agents. So it's just stuff like that is going off all over the country at all times, and it's a lot of fun. We're super agile. As a matter of fact, just being a cloud-based company, not being tethered to bricks and mortar offices and having a bunch of leases and redundant overhead allows for us to be more flexible and move in the direction. As the economy shifts, as the market shifts up and down, we're able to stay on the cutting edge versus getting caught flat-footed. And the fact that we're, transparency, that's another good one. The fact that we're a publicly traded company, I'll just give you one little comment to that. We have an independent auditing company that looks at our books, that, the government makes sure we're doing everything right as a publicly traded company. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, I mean, all these entities, these government entities, they make sure that we are transparent and doing things right. So, versus, I don't know what brokerage situation you're in today, but can your broker owners say the same thing, right? Who knows what some of these broker owners are doing behind closed doors or what they're doing with the books, right? So, well, we know at eXp, that's for sure. And so, I could go on, but needless to say, the core values is very near and dear to our heart. And just as a personal note, Glen and I and a few of us actually got together, about a year or so ago and put a lot of this together. And so I know Glen is very engaged and very, very, this is very important to him as well. So let's get into a little bit of the model. I like to think of eXp at some level as kind of like this new breed of companies. You see the Netflix, you see the Amazons, the eXp Realty logo there. But some other companies you could throw in this mix would be like Uber, Airbnb would be another one. And if you think about like, the Airbnb or Uber analogy, I think that's a very apt analogy. Some people start thinking, well, you guys are anti-office space. And I often say, no, we're not anti-office space. We're just anti-paying for it first. So think about that for a second, right? Like Airbnb, they're not anti-vacation property. They just don't go out and build and buy and then sublease vacation property to vacationers. Uber's not anti-taxi. They're one of the fastest growing, if not the biggest taxi companies in the world. They just don't go out and buy fleets of taxis first and then sublease them to drivers, right? They partner with drivers. So eXp is the same way, right? We don't go out and buy, build, or lease properties and then sublease them to real estate agents and then to get that money back in the form of, rent or desk fees or what have you. No, we just partnered with Regus. Regus is the world's #1 Class A office provider. They have over 3,000 locations in 120 countries, and I have access to every single one of them as a member of eXp Realty. So we have a global relationship with the world's #1 subleasing office company, and we basically just took ourselves out of that equation. Right? We are not in the business of subleasing office space to real estate agents. It's really that simple. And so you're free to go get an office space. You just like you would at any other brokerage. You're just going to pay for it like you would pay at any other brokerage, right? You don't just walk into Remax or Coldwell Banker and say, I want that corner office, and you're going to give it to me for free, right? You pay for that. You pay rent to that company for that office space. So it's no different for us. And we also have free business lounges and training centers and conference rooms and things like that as well. So we have every bit of office space. As a matter of fact, I would even say we probably have access to more office space than any other brokerage in the world. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there. But also, we're cloud-based, right? Think about Netflix and Blockbuster. Netflix put Blockbuster out of business in 6 years. Blockbuster was a $10 billion company. It was the ubiquitous brand. There was no other brand in home movie rentals at the time that I could think of, maybe Hollywood Video or somebody like that. But they were the major player. There was no other brand. They were at the forefront. Huge company, and then all of a sudden this little cloud-based startup came along and put them out of business in 6 years. Well, was it because people didn't like movies? Was it because people didn't like going in and getting candy and popcorn? No, they loved that. As a matter of fact, I still miss that. No, it's because Blockbuster was basically had a giant anchor around its neck in the form of bricks and mortar, and it crushed them. And Netflix leveraged the cloud. Well, what was their product? It was delivering movies to people's homes. Well, they just basically said, we can deliver it directly to your house without you having to leave, and we don't need to put all these offices and these locations and these retail storefronts up. And so you can't beat cloud-based. You can't beat streaming. Streaming is unlimited. Bricks and mortar is limited, right? You could put a Blockbuster in every corner in America, put 1,000 walls with 1,000 movies on every wall, and you still couldn't deliver more content than a streaming service can deliver, right? It's unlimited. So those are the kind of companies that we are, and that we're a part of, that family of companies, versus a lot of these big box traditional bricks and mortar brokerage that you're probably aware of. And so that creates a lot of synergy. It creates a lot of unique opportunities and aspects to our company. If you just kind of look at this comparison, obviously the traditional franchises, traditional real estate companies, costly overhead, locally confined, inconsistent growth incentives, limited support and technology, versus eXp. We have a cloud campus environment. You can log into it from anywhere in the world. You could be on a cruise ship. You could be on the beaches of Mexico. You could be sitting in a Starbucks. All you got to do is put a headset on, have Wi-Fi access, click a link, boom, you're in your office. We've got live training in there. We also have on-demand training that we record and save. We've got YouTube channels, videos, streaming services, all kinds of amazing platforms where you can train yourself at your leisure or tap into our live training. We also have 250 to 300 staff in our cloud office waiting to help you every single day. Open from 8 a.m. East Coast to 5 p.m. Pacific. Probably one of the longest work days in open for business in any real estate brokerage. Obviously, we talked a little bit about international collaboration. I'll get into that a little bit more. But just being partners with amazing entrepreneurial-minded people all over the country and in Canada. I mean, what could be bad about that? And as a matter of fact, they're not just wearing the same jersey, right? We're not just sharing a brand. We're also financially incentivized to work with each other through the stock. For example, I've got Scott Wachter on the call today. Scott's in another market. We've discussed opportunities together. Scott, if you want to say hello, say hi to the group.
Hello, everybody.
And, Scott and I have developed a friendship. We're working together. Who knows what'll come out of that, right, Scott? We may go start a business together. We may go start, another company. We may partner up on some real estate stuff, right? And so this ability for you and I to collaborate and work together, that extends to everybody in our 16,000 person organization. As a matter of fact, I've already started 3 or 4 separate companies with eXp agents that I've met around. I started a promotion company. I started a transaction coordination company, and I started a cloud concierge company. And these were all companies I started with partners that I met at eXp. Again, real estate agents are some of the most, entrepreneurial minded. They're some of the most tech savvy. They're some of the most innovative people, best marketers. I mean, what could go wrong with surrounding yourself with these amazing people that all have a shared goal, which is to build giant businesses and work together and collaborate? I mean, it's just an amazing. As a matter of fact, I would put that as the 4th pillar of eXp, right? You've got cloud officing being number 1. You've got agent ownership, publicly traded company being number 2. You've got 7-level gross commission-based rev share being number 3, and this international collaboration I would put as the 4th pillar of eXp. Nobody's doing any of those 4 things, let alone all 4 of those things, right? And so that's really why we're a revolutionary company. And of course, obviously, the powerful equity opportunities where you can build wealth instead of just being a transactional based person. This slide talks about the cloud campus. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go ahead and just share right now, real time. I'm going to share with everybody what this cloud office actually looks like. So let's go ahead and pop open here. Scott, can you see the cloud office for me? Just give me a quick.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'm actually inside our office. So that's me. I'm a little avatar here. I get to walk around. So maybe a little lag just between this and the Zoom meeting, but what I'm actually doing now is I'm walking up to a tech outpost. Let's say you have a tech question or a concern. I can grab a ticket. I can, as soon as I get this ticket, they'll call me and say, hey, it's your turn. If I had a question on something, they can literally take over my screen. They can help me get me back in the game as fast as possible. I think of them as kind of like my tech pit crew, right? I'm the race car going around the track, round and round and round. I don't have 2 weeks to drop my laptop off at Best Buy, right? I got to get this thing going and get back in the game. So EXP at some level is like my real estate pit crew. Or I might have a transaction question. I can walk over to the transaction department. And as a matter of fact, to even save time, you got the ability to jump around too. So you can walk sort of your avatar over, or you can transport yourself through this little go-to menu. So I can actually click go-to. Maybe I have an accounting question, so I'm going to click accounting. Boom, takes me right to the door. Boom, walk in. Hey, everybody, I got a quick question. Can you help me real quick? I need some advice maybe on how to set up an LLC or blah, 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 blah. So you can get questions answered quick and get back in the game. We also have a lot of different training and coaching centers. So let's go over to the auditorium here real quick. There might be a class going on as we speak. But again, if anything, trust in the process. So I'm actually in a class right now. There's 86 professionals from around the country and Canada in here taking a class on some form of real estate training. It was kind of cool. I was in here this morning, as a matter of fact, and we were working with Brad Anderson, and Brad did a really cool experiment. He basically said, can everybody really quickly type in which market they're in? So he typed in which market they were in, and so you had 100 markets, boom, 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 boom. He said, okay, now take a screenshot of that, and basically now you have an entire list of referral partners around the country. And then he said, can everyone really quickly put in how many years they've been in real estate? And it was just like, boom, 25, 13, and you had 100 answers. And he said, folks, if we were sitting in a ballroom at the Marriott at a conference, he said it would take us 3 hours to get that kind of information transmitted to the stage and then back to the audience. We did it in 2 seconds. That's the power of the cloud office. So now you're looking at this map of the United States. Every one of these is a different broker center. I happen to be in Arizona. I'm going to click this. I'm going to go to the Arizona SAB room. And now I'm literally in a Arizona-specific brokerage center. I've got Jennifer in here. She just said good morning to me. Good morning, Jennifer. Hey, I'm doing excellent. I'm just actually doing a little bit of a webinar, giving a quick tour of the cloud office. Hey, thanks. So I'm just kind of showing off here, but you see these different little rooms. You've got, the broker, you've got some meeting rooms if you needed to do a quick little heads up meet with your team or maybe a client, out-of-state buyer. You've got Robin, Newth, Jen, Hallie Mayberry, our state broker. A lot of times you'll pop in here and the state brokers will literally be in here waiting to help you. There's always going to be somebody in there, but a lot of times you'll find the brokers just camped out in here all day, every day. So this is really cool. This is how I access my broker. No longer do I have to shower, dress, get ready, drive down, look for parking, pay for parking in some markets, right? And just to run in and get a quick answer from my broker, who's probably sitting behind a stack of files on the phone going like this. I'll be with you in 1 minute, Brian, right? That was my experience as a new agent working at a big box brokerage. Well, now I can put on a headset, click a link, boom, get answers to my questions, and I'm back in the game. Because really, as a real estate professional, what is your only commodity? It's your time. And if you're spending your time doing a lot of this busy work and a lot of this down stuff, that's lost productivity. I've had 2 meetings this morning before this webinar. They're both in the cloud office. Boom, boom. 2 full-hour meetings. Didn't miss a beat. Back to back. I didn't need to leave a half an hour in between to travel or get set up for my next meeting. I banged out 2 meetings, full hour, never left my sweats, right? And then I've got a meeting this afternoon in real life. It's a 45-minute meeting with some agents. That 45-minute meeting is going to take me 2.5 to 3 hours out of my day, right? It's going to take me an hour to get ready, dress, get down there, find parking. I'll bang out the meeting, and then it's going to take me just as long to get back home and get settled. I don't have 3 hours out of my day to waste to do a 45-minute meeting. It's just not efficient. So this is the power of the cloud office. There's so many other benefits I could spend years explaining to you the power. And really, we're still just now scratching at the surface of all of the potential benefits that spin off of an office environment like this. Scott, you got any questions on the cloud office or any comments that you've experienced?
Well, I can tell you one interesting comment is I actually live and I'm good friends with my past broker. I live 3 blocks away from the office, and I actually get someone quicker in this cloud office than I ever did before. So it is an amazing feature.
Love that. That's a great. So, and one last thing too is if you're a team builder, if you're, building an organization, if you've got agents or staff that you're trying to manage, this is a great resource to manage your staff or your team, because again, you can meet regularly. It cuts out on a lot of the logistics, a lot of certainly the costs, and you can meet with your team in here. So we've got some amazing team building tools. I'm just in a meeting room. We've got meeting rooms that you can reserve. You can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meeting rooms. We got project team rooms. We've got campuses, productivity coaching centers. We even have a soccer field. You can go in here and kick the soccer ball around. And also, a lot of us, I'm in Phoenix, we get a lot of out-of-state buyer leads here. I can actually invite my buyers into this environment. I can share on the screen. I can share with them sample contracts. We can go over listings. We can get to know each other, build that rapport, so that, obviously when someone signs up on your website, they're not necessarily coming out the next day to look at homes. And so when they sign up on your website, of course, you give them all that great information and but then there's that drop-off period where you're just sending them listings and you're just hoping they remember you and remember you and remember you. And it might be 6 weeks, it might be 6 months, it might be 6 years. And then they decide, oh, we're going to come out to Phoenix. And, oh, who's that guy that you said? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I just got a new email from my sister. She's a real estate agent too. Let's go talk to her. And here I am 6 years later, or 6 months or 6 weeks later, and they've forgotten about me because I didn't build any rapport or get any meaningful engagement with them. What about this, Scott? Let's say you're a buyer. They're looking in Phoenix to come move out here. And I say, hey, Scott, thanks for signing up on my website. Hey, let's meet in my office tomorrow. And you're going to go, what do you mean, Brian? I'm in, I'm up in, Portland or New York. I can't get out there. Well, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. Here's a link. Click this link. I'll meet you in meeting room number 2, and we'll go over the contract. We'll go over your needs. And how cool is that, right? How impressive would that be for you, Scott, if you were an out-of-state buyer and your real estate agent invited you into a cloud environment like this?
I'd certainly appreciate the efficiency, not only the technology, because it's going to save me a lot of time in my day, in my busy life.
Absolutely. And so I just think, again, the cloud office benefits are unlimited. I'm going to go ahead and shut the office here just to kind of speed everything up. But that's, I just wanted to share with you the visual, because you could tell somebody about the cloud office all day long, but until you actually share it with them, it just doesn't sink in. So I'm going to jump back to the presentation. We're going to kind of start banging into some of the nuts and bolts. We've covered the training. We've covered the support. I've talked about the international collaboration. Let's get into the equity. Okay, because this is really, again, what I think is one of the biggest attractants to why this company is growing so fast. It's the ability to earn stock as you're doing what you're already doing, which is selling houses and engaging with other real estate professionals. I would encourage everybody to go out and try and get more involved with equity ownership. I think equity ownership is one of the fastest ways to build wealth in this country. And so you can invest in the stock market, you can invest in your friends' companies, or you can join eXp and just keep selling houses, and you can actually earn stock that way. As a matter of fact, you can earn stock 5 different ways at eXp. 4 of them are just from production. So we get stock when we do our first deal. We get stock if we cap. We get stock if we're icon agents, which is doing a significant amount of production. And as a matter of fact, you get your entire cap back in the form of stock. And I'll cover the icon program in detail in a second. And then you can actually buy stock at a discount. And that might be my favorite way to get stock, because it's discounted at 20%. It's the only way to get discounted stock, mind you. And you can only get it by closing deals at eXp. So as you're selling your houses and building your business, you can now sock away a little bit of every transaction into what I like to call your real estate 401k plan. It's your pot of gold that you're going to be building, so that when you're ready to finally hang up the sales shoes, you'll have something to show. We've been talking about this now for about 45 minutes. You'll have something to show for life after your last sale, or in the event that life prevents you from doing any more sales, like it did me temporarily when I broke my hip. Or, I've got friends and agents that I work with who have, ill family members that they're now full-time caregivers, sick kids, or people that just want to travel. Maybe they've been, busting their butt for 15, 20 years. They want to slow down a little bit, but they don't want to take a hit financially. So there's just a lot of reasons why you might want to slow down or be forced to slow down the sales part of your business. Well, now you've built up a little bit of a nest egg through the stock, and that'll hopefully continue to grow as the company continues to grow. That's my gamble, at least, as I look at the stock and I look at the growth chart, and they do seem to kind of mirror each other. So, again, stock is stock, so it could go up, could go down, and this company, it's gone up and gone down, but this is the long play, right? This isn't, you're not going to do 3 or 4 deals and make $1 million in stock. Now, I do have a gentleman in my organization. His name's Kevin Mullaney. Just share with you a quick little side story here. Kevin's about, he's been in the real estate game now 6 years. He came to eXp as a brand new agent. He capped in his first 3 years with us. And then the last 3 years, he's been an Icon agent. So he's actually been getting those stock awards. Well, when he was an Icon agent in 2015, we gave him $16,000 worth of stock. The stock was worth 30 cents a share. Right. So I asked him the other day, I said, Kevin, can you add up all the stock that you've earned from your sales and this and that? And he bought some stock too. And he said he's got over $1 million worth of stock. Kevin Mullaney's 32 years old. Kevin Mullaney has been an Icon agent or a capper his first 6 years in real estate. He's got $1 million worth of stock in his bank account, and he's not even 33 years old yet. So that's pretty incredible. And that's just one of many, many stories of success stories that this company's helped create for people. So, it won't take you 50 years to get there, but it won't, you won't get there next week either. So this is a slow and steady program, right? And then again, the Icon Award, it's a good goal. I've seen a number of people join eXp that were doing about 5-6 million a year, and they saw that Icon Award and they pushed themselves and they ended up hitting it. Christine Joya is another great example. Christine Joya, she did about 5-7 million a year at her old brokerage. She came over to eXp. She saw the Icon Award, and she in this last year she ramped up her game. She made that her goal, and she hit Icon, and she actually got her $16,000 cap back in the form of stock. So thank you very much, and she was very excited about that. And she's not the only one that's used that as a motivator. So and also maybe Scott, you might be saying to yourself, well, Brian, or somebody on the call might be saying, I'm not going to do 15, 10 million. Why would that apply to me? I'm just going to do my 3, 4, 5 million a year and that's it. Well, you might know a 10, $15 million a year producer. Now you have a tool in order to attract them, put them into your business, start revenue sharing from their production, and the company's going to pay for it in the form of stock. So how cool is that, right? You're literally using the company's stock to grow your own organization. That's pretty unheard of in any industry. Okay, a company giving you stock for free to go out and grow your personal business. That's pretty impressive. And that also would apply to the stock that you get for everybody you sign up, right? If let's say, I'll keep using you as an example, Scott. You mentioned earlier you had a broker owner friend. Well, let's say you brought that broker owner friend over. You get a couple shares of stock. I think it's like 30 or 40 shares of stock for that person today. But then that broker owner would get 30 or 40 shares of stock for everybody he brought with him. So now, by the way, Scott, he's not getting your stock. He's getting the company stock, right? But what are you getting? You're getting 10 agents in your rev share organization. So you effectively just bought and acquired a brokerage, put them into your cash flow business, and eXp cut the check. I mean, what a great opportunity is that? And so let's talk about the rev share. We're getting close to the hour mark here, so I just want to kind of keep this to right around an hour. Residual income can come in all shapes and sizes, okay? There's a ton of passive income opportunities in the world, right? You see it in it's from everywhere from the health industry to the skincare to candle business, jewelry businesses, all these different types of direct sales and network marketing companies. They all leverage the same kind of concept, which is passive income. But passive income is gets a bad rap. Well, I think it gets a bad rap because people don't know what kind of questions to ask about the opportunity. A lot of times it comes in the form of, a $50 product that you got to go out and, sign up, your mom 50 times over to make any kind of money. Well, this is a different kind of passive income. This is revenue sharing. Okay, revenue sharing means that the broker owners of eXp share the revenue with its members. Well, the alternative to that is the broker owners just keeping it all. Right? So a lot of times people start saying, well, you guys are kind of like a scheme because you have that revenue share thing. And I say, why wouldn't the scheme be the brokers that keep all the money? Why aren't they not the scheme? And we're shouldn't we be the good guys? We're the ones sharing the money back with our agents. How is that a scheme? I just don't get that. right? And number two, you're not making money off of the other agent. They're going to keep their 80% no matter what. You're just getting that company's money, right? The company's sharing more and more of their money with us. You're not making money off that other agent. And if that does trouble you, well, I'll ask you this. Have you ever gotten a referral? Have you ever given an agent a client and gotten a referral? Because you made money off that other agent, right? And as a matter of fact, you made money off their side, right? You took money out of their pocket. This is, you're just taking money out of the company's pocket, and everybody wins. Now, the company will always maintain profitability in the way we set this up, but the long story short is, my wife, my kids, my staff, everybody that's a part of my life prefers that I work for a brokerage that shares the revenue back with us. Some people laugh and go, well, I don't want that revenue share money. I just want to focus on my sales money. Believe me, folks, Amazon takes revenue share money. I know by the amount of packages that show up every morning on my doorstep, believe me, they take that revenue share money, okay? Well, let's talk about how it works. Basically, anyone you introduce to the company, you make 3.5% of their gross commission. So let me repeat that. You make 3.5% of their gross commission up until they cap. All right. So if you brought in a capper to eXp, if you introduce them to the company, and by introduce them, I mean say, hey, take a look at eXp. It's a great company, and they end up joining, you will make 3.5% of their gross commission up until they cap, which is effectively around $2,800 per capper. Now, it could be nothing if they don't do any production, but it won't be more than 2,800 because for us, capping is about 16,000. You pay the company 16,000, or roughly around 80,000 GCI, or roughly 2.8 to 3 million in sales volume. So a good rule of thumb is you make about $1,000 for every $1 million worth of production. So if you bring in $1 million producer, you made $1,000 that year, right? Or you bring in somebody, they do $1 million deal this month, you make $1,000 next month. It's actually paid every month based on this month's production. So that's pretty awesome. Let's just do the math. You bring in 10 cappers, that's 28 grand a year from 10 people. That's a nice side business, right? $28,000 for just introducing 10 people to an amazing opportunity that's probably going to change their lives too, right? Now, let's say they start introducing people to the company, because it doesn't just stop with one level, right? So as you start introducing people, and they start introducing people, and they start introducing people, and as a matter of fact, we do a 7-tiered revenue share plan. There's some, we can talk about this, and again, I could spend a lot of time going over this, but needless to say, every level you can earn money up to 7 levels. If you want to earn big money, you want to start bringing people in to your front line. So as you look on this right-hand column, every 5 people you introduce, you basically unlock the corresponding level to the left here. Now, you can bring in people personally, you're going to get paid that 3.5% no matter what. But if you want to get that second level big money, you got to now have 5 people in your front line, and that will unlock level 2. And then 10 unlocks level 3, 15 for level 4, and so on and so on and so on. Hey, welcome to the call. And basically, you're just not going to stop. I look at those as like golden carrots, right? Every 5 steps you take, there's another golden carrot waiting for you, and the golden carrots get bigger and bigger. So it's really exciting. I'll give you a quick little scenario. Let's just use this. Scott, let's say you said to me, Brian, I want to be retired in 5 years. And I said, Scott, could you retire on a 6-figure passive income? If I gave you $100 grand a year and it just showed up in mailbox money, would that help you get closer to retirement?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, here's your plan. Let's say you bring in 2 people a year. Okay. A whopping 2 people a year, right? You think about your average real estate agent, they're doing 10, 15, 20 deals a year. All you got to do is introduce 2 or 3 of those agents to this company and they join. Okay. So if you get 2 people a year for 5 years, and they do the exact same thing. So your 10 people bring in 10 each. So what you would effectively have is you'd have 10 people on level 1, and you'd have 100 people on level 2. And let's just say all 110 of those people do $1 million in production total for that year. Okay, a total of $1 million each. That would be $110,000 in passive income for you that year. So that's a 5-year plan, right? That's 2 people a year for 5 years, and that's them doing the same thing. So that's 10 people who bring in 10 people each, all doing $1 million in production. So I've used very modest numbers, right? I mean, are those doable, Scott? I mean, is that unrealistic to you?
It's very achievable.
Very
Very, very
achievable.
reasonable. Very
I mean,
reasonable.
who wouldn't want a six-figure passive income 5 years from now, right? And by the way, you may not want to retire because you could probably reinvest that money into your sales business and grow an even bigger business. And it's even exciting. My Yorkie Bailey, she's go get your license, Bailey, and we'll talk. So basically, the passive income again is just I think of it as the icing on the cake. The cake being the brokerage. It's a great company. It's great people. We've got great support, great training, great education. We give you thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tech tools. You get a database, lead gen tools, marketing and branding tools. We've got collaborative environments like Facebook Workplace and the Cloud Office. We've got paperless platforms like SkySlope. We're building our own eXp enterprise where you can literally log in and track your stock, track your I'm actually just logged in now. If you can see my eXp enterprise, my back office, you can go, jump off points to all the training, the education, the calendars, a Make It Rain program, which is our in-house pay-per-click company. So you can start doing pay-per-click campaigns and give them a budget and they'll actually do it for you. And they're some of the best in the game at it. And then you can also go and track your transactions. You can go in here, you can track your equity program. You can track your residual income program. And so you can really see this thing starts to grow and grow and grow, whether you are selling houses or not. So that's the power of this model. Calling us a real estate brokerage almost does us a disservice because we should almost call eXp a real estate wealth creation agency, because that's what we're doing. We're leveraging our real estate careers to build passive income, to build equity, to boost our sales business. At some point, sometimes I'll get the objection right around now of, Brian, I don't want all these other things to take away from my sales business, right? If you're feeling that right now, let me share with you my personal experience. I was a struggling real estate agent, just like everybody else, going deal to deal for a number of years. I was always helping grow teams, grow businesses. I had 3 kids. I'm just like everybody else. I had a million excuses. Broke my hip, couldn't walk. Struggling, time broke. You name it, we had it going on. But because I've been implementing this business model and leveraging the equity, leveraging the passive, now I've built up a nice sized business. I get a 5-figure passive income every month minimum. And what I do is I reinvest that passive income into my sales business. I pay for leads. I pay for staff. I've got an inside salesperson that I just hired. I've got I pay for events, marketing, video production, right? Do you think all those things hurt my real estate business, or do you think they help my real estate business? Of course they help my real estate business, right? I'm making videos. I'm putting on events. I'm generating more leads. I'm building teams. I'm outfitting those teams with the best in equipment and websites and tools possible. I'm starting companies to facilitate production, transaction coordination, cloud marketing companies. All of that stuff, I've leveraged my equity and my passive income to reinvest into my sales business. And what does that do? It repeats the loop. Right? More sales equals more equity, more people, more sales, more equity, more people, more sales, more equity, more people, more sales. And it just starts to snowball. And so I think there's 2 analogies that I like, 2 metaphors for real estate. There's 2 types of real estate careers. There's the first one, which is the myth of Sisyphus, right? I'm an old philosophy person. So the myth of Sisyphus was a Greek king who was doomed to an eternity of pushing a rock up a hill only to have it roll back down again and again, just as he was getting it close to the top. Well, how about you sell 20 houses a year, rack it up, sell another 20 next year, rack it up, sell another 20, rack it up, sell another 20, and you never get off that hamster wheel, right? Well, it sounds very familiar, right? It's pushing the rock up the hill only to have it roll back down. I personally have flipped that. Now what I'm doing is I'm making little money snowballs at the top of the hill and I'm rolling them down, and they're growing and growing and growing whether I'm pushing them or not. I can disappear for a month and go to Mexico and backpack through Europe, or take my kids to Australia, and my business will continue to grow whether I sell houses or not. Because I've got teams of agents, I've got lead gen, I've got ISAs, and all of that stuff is thanks to eXp and the wealth building tools that they've given me. right? I'm not any better. As a matter of fact, I'm not the greatest real estate agent in the world. I'm just going to make more money than most real estate agents will ever make because I'm a part of a better vehicle called eXp Realty. So, I'd like to take a lot of credit for the success, but it's really due to being in a better vehicle. It's kind of like that commercial, that Super Bowl commercial where they took the NASCAR driver and they put him on a tricycle, and then they took the little kid and put him in a NASCAR and they had him race. Well, what do you think happened? Do you think the NASCAR driver, who's the most skilled, amazing driver in the world, do you think he beat the kid in the NASCAR vehicle? No, because the kid's in a better vehicle. It doesn't care how good of a driver he is. He hits that gas, he's taken off, and the best driver in the world has to, he could be moving his feet as fast as he can. He's on a tricycle. So if you're part of a locally confined, one-off boutique brokerage that has limited support, limited resources, the broker's stretched thin, has very little time, or you're part of some big giant box brokerage that you're just a number in the crowd and you're surrounded by competitors, I would strongly urge you to consider looking at the eXp opportunity, because it's probably the best vehicle in the business. And if you've got dreams and goals that you want to achieve, the only question you need to ask yourself is, are you a part of a vehicle big enough to allow you to get there? Fair enough? Scott, how'd I do?
Excellent. I wish I could do it as well as you do.
Well, practice, right? But you will, and I'm honored and thrilled that we're partners, and this is just the beginning for us moving forward. And again, eXp, we're only 9 years old, folks. We're 15,000 strong, but our goal is to get this up to around 100, 150,000. So if at some point you're feeling like, well, I might have missed the opportunity or it's too late, let me urge to you, it's not too late, because there's still probably 90% market share left to go. And if you have questions, get with your sponsor, whoever introduced you to eXp, email me, Brian, Brian at exprealty.com. Get with Scott. There's questions answered. You can Google most of the information's online, but find someone in your local market that's with eXp, or give us a call, or reach out to us, or whoever invited you on this or sent you this link to watch this video, and they'll be able to answer your questions in detail. But think of eXp at some level as like being handed a real estate toolbox, and I promise you there's stuff in here that can help you grow your business, take it to the next level, and that will make you very successful and financially free a lot faster than if you're just out there trying to sell houses and add a few more sales to your year. You'll never get off that hamster wheel, right? So hey everybody, I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. Just a few more slides, but we would love to partner with you, have you come over and join us, become a shareholder. No longer just be hang your license, but be an owner of the brokerage. Don't just be a 1099. Come be a stakeholder and build something special, because it's a lot of fun, and we're making a lot of money. So thanks everybody. And cut.
Smooth.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Let's see. Stop recording.